The brothers at Promotional Prep will be hosting a high-rise seminar May 4th at Passaic County Fire Academy. It will feature Chief Mike Turpak, Chief Alador Prats, and Chief Frank Montaigne. Don't be shy, this class is open to anyone. Career, volunteer, firefighter, and officers are all encouraged to take advantage of this amazing opportunity. If your department has high-rise or mid-rise, residential or commercial, even if it's mutual aid areas, you're really doing a disservice to yourself, your people, and your community if you're not preparing yourself for these incidents. So go to Promotional Prep on social media or at promotionalprep.com to get registered today. Good evening, everybody. How are you? Welcome to run number 006 with Deputy Chief Robert Butch Cobb of the Jersey City Fire Department. Chief Cobb is a true titan of the American Fire Service. He enlisted in the U.S. Army in 1967, deployed to Vietnam 1968 to 1969, where he was recipient of the U.S. Army Air Medal for his part in aerial combat action with his unit. He was volunteer in Dumont Fire Department from 1969 to 1979 and served as Chief of Department in 1978. He then volunteered in West Milford Fire Company 4 from 1982 to 1990 and served as Chief of Department in 1980. His paid career started in 1972 when he was appointed to the Weehawkin Fire Department. He was appointed to the Fire Department of Jersey City in 1975, was promoted to captain in 1989, and served as captain of Engine 22, Engine 20, and Rescue Number 1. In 1997, he was promoted to Battalion Chief and assigned to 2nd Battalion, Group C. On 9/11, he was dispatched with his battalion mutual aid to the World Trade Center attacks, where he was tasked with assisting the FDNY Command team. He was promoted again to Deputy Chief in 2005, assigned to Chief of Operations, and in 2007 he was assigned as Chief of Training. And in 2008 he retired as Citywide Tour Commander and Chief of Operations. Upon his retirement from the Jersey City Fire Department, he began working with the Insurance Services Office as Director of Community Hazard Mitigation. He's been a contributing writer to the Firehouse magazine for over 25 years, an FDIC instructor, a hands-on training coordinator for Firehouse Expo, and Firehouse Magazine Hall of Fame inductee in the class of 2022. Without further ado, I'm proud to introduce Chief Butch Cobb. Good evening, Chief. How are you?
Good, Nick. Thank you. I think from my resume, everybody's going to realize I'm an old guy. It took a long time to get all that other stuff done. Though. Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it very much.
I'm humbled to have you. Honored to have you. So tell us a little bit about, tell us a little bit that I left out. Where'd you grow up? How'd you grow up? What got you into the fire service?
Born in Jersey City, Christ Hospital, back in 1948. We moved from there to 4615 Broadway in Union City, which was north of Jersey City, but my dad wanted us to get out of the city and move kind of to the suburbs, which was northern Hudson County. My dad hung out with a lot of firemen, played on some of the softball teams with firemen. He was always in the firehouse. My dad he wanted to be a fireman, but he was injured during World War II on the USS Yorktown, and his knee just wasn't good enough to get on a career department. But anyway, quick story. The reason why I went in the Army, I graduated high school in 1967, didn't want to go to college. I was 18, but back in 1967, you had to be 21 to be a fireman or a cop and vote. So I figured I had 3 years to kill before I was 21. So I went and enlisted in the Army and volunteered to go to Vietnam and spent a little time there. And the best thing about that was when I came back, New Jersey has a lot of faults. Oh, that's my probie class. That's after basic training. That's advanced training. I was at Fort Huachuca, Arizona. taking navigation training and learning all the duties in the right-hand seat of an OV-1 Mohawk. But that's
okay.
every class.
I was going to ask you what you did.
Yeah, I flew mostly in a small twin-engine plane in Vietnam. We flew up and down the Ho Chi Minh Trail, almost daily, up and down the valleys there. The plane could look
So you saw no action there.
Yeah. Well, if you didn't have a hole or two in your plane when you came back, you weren't doing your job. You were flying too high. A lot of it was done, treetop. But the key, once I got back from Vietnam and got out of the service and took a civil service test, which I always wanted to be a fireman, so I took a civil. Back then, you could take one civil service test for, I think there were nine communities, 9 cities on the list. So all you had to do was pass it, and your name was given to all. But the big thing was in New Jersey, if you're a veteran, you get absolute preference, which means if you got a 70 on a test, a passing grade, they move you to the top of the list. So it sounds great, but in a Proby class, I don't know if you have a picture of it, my Proby class, probably 90% of us were Vietnam veterans, but it's something New Jersey did that I'll always remember. It was good, giving us preference on a test, on a civil cop fire, no matter what. And so that's really got me started. I took that one test. I had three cities call me. I went to Weehawkin. Ridgewood called me first. I was one on their list, but I just didn't think I'd fit in there. And then I went to Weehawkin, where I was living in Weehawkin at the time. I did 3 years there. That was great. Small department. It wasn't North Hudson Regional. It was 3 engines and a ladder truck. 12 of us on a shift. Most of the time I was on engine 1 with Billy Bradley, and it was a third guy. But if anybody took off, you rode with just the chauffeur and the captain. That was it. And we had a couple fires back then, and so I learned the job there. But as soon as I got notified that my name was coming up on Jersey City, I went to them right away and said, "Listen, the minute they call me, I'm leaving," because that's I was following Newark, Jersey City, East Orange, Elizabeth. Any of them called, I was going to go, and I was fortunate that it was Jersey City. They were pretty busy back in the day. I started in the early '70s, and I actually came up on a New York City test. I had taken that because my dad's uncle was a lieutenant in the FDNY, and so I took the test over there. But when the test came up, my name came up. I'd been in Jersey City about 2.5 years, and my dad said to me, "Why would you want to go to New York City?" And I said, "Well, I had pretty busy." He said, "You don't want to be any more busy than you are in Jersey City." And I was enjoying it, and I was comfortable, and so I passed on that, and it all seemed to work out for the best. So here I am. But yeah, so like I said,
I don't have your Proby class picture.
I thought might be in there somewhere. Like 70 of us. No,
I have some early Jersey City pictures.
Yeah, early Jersey City. Downtown was all railroad terminals and railroad stockyards, and it was it was a place where even the city cops didn't go to visit. It was just run by another organization. World Trade Center in the background, and I started my career down there in Engine 1. I had a Proby school, went to Engine 1 right on the Hudson River, and it was single engine with the 1st Battalion. It's kind of fun because everything on I forget what the name of the street was back then. They changed it now, but Henderson Street, from Morgan and Henderson all the way down to the Holland Tunnel were pretty much vacant buildings, 2-3-story brick frames. So we had a lot of fun. And I think we're gained quite a bit of experience. So just going to fires in vacant buildings. The fire was already out 2 or 3 windows, kind of well vented. So
officer's dream.
Yeah, I gained a lot of experience. I had a great captain, Louis Schmidt. He was a World War II vet. He probably had 28 years on the job when I came on as a Proby, and he was a good guy. He just kind of turned me over to the company and the senior man, and we talked my first door, and we had a good second alarm my first night, and the rule with Louis was, he said to me, don't ever get off this rig. Don't ever get off engine one without a Scott pack on. And we had a brand new Max CF, with the first Max CF that they got. And he said, don't get off this rig without your Scott pack on. And I said, oh, okay, yeah, I could do that. And I said to the guys that, he said, don't get off the rig at a building fire without my Scott. He goes, no, don't ever get off the rig again for anything. Rubbish, car fire. Don't get off the rig without your Scott pack on. I thought that was kind of, what the hell? But I did what he said. And you know what? That helped me after I left engine one, putting that Scott pack on 15 times a day. When I got down to the second battalion,
muscle memory.
Yeah, at the beginning you couldn't put the Scott pack on in the jump seat because they were too narrow. We had a couple of American LaFrances, and you took it out of the suitcase. But I could beat anybody putting a Scott on because I had so much practice. So there was a method to his madness. I knew what I was. Yeah. So, but yeah, he dragged me into my first real good fire in Jersey City was in a place called the Left Hand Tavern. And I'll never forget the name because I'm left-handed and nobody does anything for lefties. But he dragged me into this vacant tavern, two stories above, people coming down to fire escapes and whatnot. And he just yelled when we got off the rig. He said 2.5, commercial building, heavy fire, smoke, black smoke. And he dragged us in there and had my mask on, and he had his hand on my shoulder. And I think Donnie Lyons was behind me on the line and gave me the nozzle, and we kept crawling in, and fire coming over our heads a little bit. It was pretty high ceiling. And I said to him, now, I wanted to open the line. I said, now. He goes, no, keep going. We kept crawling. I said, now. He goes, no.
On top of it.
Yeah, he said, not yet. And we finally got to where we had to go. Good smooth bore nozzle, and we just killed it. It started in in the back room. It was like a party room or that they rented out, and we just killed it. But I'll tell you something, that crawling in there, everything that happened at that fire, and I told this story before, it didn't resemble anything I got in my training in Weehawken or my Proby school in Jersey City. It didn't look like anything we were taught to do, because they couldn't get you in that scene. I mean, commercial building, heavy over your head, fire over your head, and the heat. And I said to myself, I remember saying to myself, I said, I don't recognize this at all. But it was good. And, everybody did their job. They got people off the fire escapes. We knocked the hell out of the fire, broke the line down to an inch and a half back then, and cleaned up a little bit. But it was a great experience. And, a lot of high fives coming out. And, and it was good. I felt good. I walked out saying, what, I can do this. I think I can do this now. But one of the things, we get out of that fire and get out to the street. I took my mask off. I turned around to see Louis, and he never put his mask on the whole time. And he's standing there with his Chesterfield hanging out of his mouth. But he was old school, he was old school, but he was a good teacher.
Yeah,
didn't say much, but he showed you how, and you learned. And he ran, we had a good company. We had all senior guys. I mean, obviously, I was a Proby, and they all had been on a job in a while. And the chief in there, McNally, he was a good leader. Little unique to the fire service because he was a pretty smart guy, but a little bit of a practical joker. But he was a good guy. Learned a lot there. And then I went up to Engine 4 after that, which was my first big house, and it was called the Big House up on Newark Avenue with Engine 4, Engine 5. Ladder 6, which was a 90-foot snorkel, which I hated. But I'm glad I was on Engine 4. We had two good captains up there. Again, one World War II vet. He was a B-24 pilot. So these guys were just pretty courageous, and every fire I went to, I learned something. I just learned something every time I went out with them. That was good. And then I finally wound up on Engine 20 down in the South End, because what I did was I went through the running assignments, and I knew who the busiest companies were in the city. And I looked at Engine 20 and Ladder 5 they were pretty much the busiest house in the city. But when I looked at the running card, they were on the running card on every assignment: first alarm, second alarm, third alarm, fourth alarm, and they did a lot of first due work. So, for me, I was kind of a stickler about things. And I looked. Engine 20 didn't relocate. A lot of companies relocated all over the city and, sat in a firehouse. Engine 20 never relocated anywhere. So I picked that, and I was lucky I got a spot the following year, July 1st, I guess, of 76. I got my first permanent spot in Engine 20, and that was a lot of fun. We had a good time down there. A lot of running. Yeah. So anyway, and then the rest is history.
Yeah.
But that was the thing about Engine 20, just to give you a little view of the area. At one point, Engine 20 and Ladder 5, and next door to us was the West Precinct. We were the only two occupied buildings on the block. The rest of them were vacant. That gives you an indication. And Mike Turpak told me we had like 12 or 15,000 vacant buildings in Jersey City when back in the 70s into the early 80s. So yeah.
Now and Jersey City's what, 12, 13 square miles?
It's 14 square miles, 12 square miles above water. They count 2 miles underwater in the Hudson River because Ellis Island belongs to Jersey City. So it's about 12 square miles. Yeah.
But that's insane. What was it, 15,000?
Yeah, Mike said 15,000 vacant buildings.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's so down the South End. Yeah, and that's, I would say.
So now, when did Jersey City really start? Because I mean, it's this huge metropolis now. I mean,
it's unbelievable that the change.
When did that really start coming back?
Maybe in the 90s when they started building the high rises. It really started with one guy's view, and I forget his name. He was a real estate developer, and he started buying property. The railroads were going broke, and that there were a lot of vacant piers and vacant buildings down there. And he started buying property, and he built something called the Newport Mall, which was right outside the Path train station, the subway that goes over to New York, and right outside the Holland Tunnel. And his vision was to start there and then start building some high rises. And he was exactly right, because people started coming through the tunnel.
Yeah.
The two subways that came over from New York City, and plus everybody in that part of New Jersey started flocking to this Newport Mall. And it was a huge hit. And then he built a couple high rises, and then other real estate developers come in, I guess in maybe the late 80s. I'm not quite sure. 90s, and all of a sudden we went from having maybe 30 or 40 high rises in the city to having 100, 150, and I think now there's probably over 200, 250, coming on 300. I mean, if you go down there even today,
now it looks like that. I mean,
the guys, my friends that work in New York City, said our skyline got built up. The building on the right is the Goldman Sachs building. It's about 70 stories. That's been there, I guess maybe just after 9/11, but was the tallest. I think they're building something bigger than that now. But that was a huge building. There was some thought about putting the firehouse in the first floor of that, but it just never came about. So
I think I heard someplace else that they wanted to do that with a massive skyscraper.
Yeah. There's a lot of the buildings are coming in now. Where fire headquarters is now, from what I understand, they're actually thinking about selling that firehouse and that land to a developer to put 2 or 3 high rises there and and some stores and whatnot. And there was some thought.
What's that, fire headquarters?
Yeah, that's who's there.
Oh, wow.
Now? Yeah, that's because all the upstairs was the fire chief and the director, and they all moved now down to their own high rise. It's like a 6 or 7 story building down. They
just opened that the public safety complex or something. That was only like a year or so ago. They opened that up.
Yeah, and the firehouse stayed there. The citywide tour command is in there. The deputy's in there. Engine 6 is in there. Engine 6, I think ladder 2. The hazmat runs out of there. And now squad 1 runs out of there. So if they sell it, I mean, they'll come up with a place. And I think the smart thing would just get one of the builders to put a firehouse in, like Boston and some of the other cities or build up with a
Yeah.
firehouse in the first floor. But yeah, because they're busy companies downtown, and they have all the high-rise training, so there's no way they're going to get rid of them. So
Yeah.
we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But it's just the city's changed. I go down there now, and it's unbelievable. I mean, there's probably close to 300,000 people, maybe more. Half the streets downtown are closed off now. They have restaurants with tables out there. It's really it's really turned into an incredible place. And after 9/11 was part of it, but even with people looking at the rents in New York City, when you could live in Jersey City for a lot less, and there's like 8 ferries that go over every morning. They have the 2-path subway trains. They have the tunnel. So they had a big influx of white collar workers, I guess the way you put it. But
yeah. But again, it's a bedroom community. They're these skyscrapers are empty during the day.
Yeah, and from what I understand, those skyscrapers, whether they're commercial or residential, they're completely filled before the building's completed.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
So
so
so that was interesting. And the fires, there aren't many vacant buildings downtown anymore because the property's worth so much money. But there's still a number in the South End, and maybe a few up in the Heights. But the city has just grown. And it's good that the leadership there is let the fire department grow with it. I've seen, when I work with ISO, I've seen a lot of communities just outgrow their fire protection. My crews would go in and they'd call me and say, "Just, you know what? They might have been a 10 years ago, but they've outgrown their fire protection." And but I got to give a hand to the leadership in Jersey City. They kept the fire department up with the growth. I mean, I would have never thought they could have 700 firemen. I think they have 25, 26 companies roaming around 12 square miles.
Yeah, it's crazy. What did they just put on? They just reinstated Engine Company 1 and Squad 1, Truck 1, whatever. Last year or 22 or 23. They did that.
Before Chief McGill left, he brought back Engine 1 and Squad 1, which replaces Truck 1, 2 of the companies that they closed in 91. They closed 4 companies in 91. Engine 1, Ladder 1, Engine 20, my Engine 20, and Ladder 5. And the reasoning for this was, and this is the science behind it, the 2 slowest companies in the city were Engine 1, Ladder 1, and the 2 busiest companies in the city were Engine 20 and Ladder 5.
Well, Fred Manzo just said Bob was right. Engine 20 and Truck 5 were on every box in the city.
Yeah.
So the busiest 2 companies in the city, and you're gonna close them down.
Yeah, I just saw that little thing from Freddie Manzo. Freddie and I worked together in Engine 20 for a long time.
That's
great
what he
guy,
said.
Great fireman, good chauffeur. Yeah, just all around good. He's retired, I think, in Florida. I see him once in a while, and so thanks, Fred. Yeah, so. But when they closed in 91, when they closed those 4 companies, they brought back Rescue 1. There were 2 rescues until 75. They closed Rescue 1, Rescue 2, 1 in each division. There were 2 divisions back then. And they brought back, Rescue 1. That's Rescue 1 before our rescue truck came in. We were in such a hurry to get on the road. That's my original crew. We had a Max CF pumper that they tore the pump off and everything, and they put a covered wagon on it in the back, and we put all our gear on there. And that's Mike Conlon retired as a captain. Dennis Whalen retired as a captain. The big guy, Tommy Ebert, retired as a captain. Lenny retired as a captain. All these guys got promoted. Now, I'm not taking credit for them getting promoted. I just think maybe something. I was always studying.
Mike Conlon all the way to the left?
Mike Conlon all the way to the left, yeah. First guy on the left, yep.
I remember him when he used to instruct down at Middletown Fire Academy.
Yeah, when I was chief of training, that's where we sent our probie companies. It was wild down there. I mean, we did some good burns. The kids learned a lot down there. Yep. Yeah.
What was his name? Jerry. They called him the Torch.
Yeah.
I can't remember his last. Jerry.
I'm terrible with names.
I'm probably better off. If I remember the history, the history, probably better off not remember his last name.
Yeah, well, Mike Conlon, his reputation was there were 5 of us, so we used to split up in three teams. Actually, 2 guys would take the floor above, and 2 guys would. One guy would go to the roof if needed, which generally was Lenny, and Mike would go with the other guy. But every time we got done with a fire, we looked at Mike and say, "Mike, did you get caught in an explosion?" Because he'd have debris all over his coat, his face would be black. So we used to say to him all the time, "Mike,
his helmet's charred."
Yeah, he was a character. Great fireman. These guys, these are 4 great firemen. I mean, we had a ball. So Rescue 1 came back when they closed. So the net loss was 3 companies, and we were our minimum is 5. That was the minimum for Rescue. Any tour was 5 of us. We were the only 5-person company in the city. Sometimes we had 6, but mostly 5. And we started with that Mac. I don't know if I sent you the picture of the van with Gumby. That's kind of funny. We actually started with a Suburban and a van. We did all the training, and then we had a Suburban and a van. Then we had the Max CF converted, and then we got an E1. We got a big box truck after that. I thought I sent you this Gumby. You'd know it right away.
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
I 5 of us and Gumby. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
Yeah.
So then, what is this here? Talk about this.
Well, that's I was telling you, that's engine 20. Front piece, and that was our patch at the time, Demon Slayer. Actually, we had, before we got this E1, we had a Mac, and we had the lightning bolts painted on the front of it. One of the guys did, and we would. The Demon Slayers, that was our name. Now that's both companies. I was telling you before, each company had an officer, but back in the day, if there weren't enough officers and one of the captains called off, then you'd handle both. Like that day, I was the captain of engine 20, ladder 5, and whenever it went out the door first, I got on. Typically I jump on the engine and the ladder would follow us. But if the ladder went to a call, I would jump on it, and one of the senior firemen would jump up in the engine. So that was kind of a strange situation. So that's all of us that day on engine 20. That's a brand new E1.
That's actually a sweet deal.
Yeah, I mean, I got to go to everything.
Yeah.
I also had to do all the paperwork, and
yeah, that's
all good guys. Just about every guy there, starting to it's hard to look, but on the right was Pete Greasy. Like I said, he's 41 years on the job, still there. He's a battalion chief, and then I think that's Billy McClintock was the deputy chief. Glenn Youngkowski, who retired recently, is a battalion chief, and then myself, and then all the other guys. And we had a ball. We had all good companies. If you went to engine 20 and ladder 5, you were there for one thing. You were there because we were doing more
fire.
Yeah. It was everybody down that area, but that was great. We had a good time. So yeah. And then I said we went after they closed. I worked the last tour. I actually got on the radio, got my hand slapped, but I got on the radio, backed in because I knew it was early in the morning and they were closing it that morning. And I got on the radio and said engine 20. I caught it for the last time, and I gave a little dissertation about engine 20 being closed. And I got my hand snapped a little bit. Yeah, but what the hell?
You got your point across.
Yeah.
You got your point across. So here, I got some pictures of some house fires here.
Yeah, that's just a couple blocks from the firehouse. Actually, that picture was taken by Bobby Pressler.
Okay.
Lieutenant, Bobby and I were. He wound up in Rescue 3 and got promoted to lieutenant, and then he got hurt pretty severely at a fire. He got critically injured, smoke and heat, but he was riding with us that night, and we had this just down the block from the firehouse, and the Squad 4 got in first. The Squad 4, they put Squad 4 in with the rescue, and they were sort of like they would assist us a lot of things, but they had their first 2 areas. So we were just getting in. Bobby Keating, the Seed, we called him. He was the chef in the firehouse. They were just getting in, and I just walked out. I always try to get in just a little bit before my guys. I jump off and they get their gear and stuff just to get a quick size up of what are we going to do. And we decided that we were going to throw a ladder up on the left, do a little vent entrance search. Because that's only like 2 rooms. That's a small bedroom and a bigger bedroom. So it was only 2 rooms at that point, vented. So we went up. I think 2 of my guys might have went in with the line, and we put a ladder up and got in a window. And it's pretty typical fire. And
is that the same as this one?
no, that's a different fire. Maybe a little bit later. I don't know. I always had somebody riding with us. We had guys. I used to keep a chart. Who was coming on Friday? Who's coming on Saturday? We had just finished the primary on the 2nd floor, and they were having a little trouble getting up to the attic. We were extended, and actually, this kind of shocked us. I think it was Lenny.
I hope not those wires.
No, they were actually they were about 5 or 6 feet from
further out.
Club. But when we hit that window, it was an energy efficient window. So Lenny had to slam it a couple times. We didn't realize when he hit it, the smoke blew out of that thing. The pressure built up. So the guy was having a little trouble getting up the stairs to the attic apartment, and I was shocked. We hit that.
Yeah,
that blew out like that. But that's that's outside men's job, right?
Yeah, get it.
We were doing that, but we had done the primary, and a couple of my guys were probably on the roof, but that was just another typical 2.5 story frame. Oh shit, this.
That's a little bit of fire there.
Yeah, you know what? We were at a 2nd alarm down by engine 15. I forget what street it was on, and it was knocked down. We were picking up equipment. It was the 3rd alarm down in 4th Battalion, and we were just picking up. And this came in, and the deputy said, "Hey, you guys ready?" I said, "Yeah." We just threw the stuff in the back. I said, "We'll take off for that because that mutual aid company is going through this fire," and we got in. That's engine 22, which is in the south end of the city. They had relocated up to the heights, and it's Lenny Rubicki on the right with the little blue things on his helmet. That's me leaning over, asking there was a mutual aid company there, I think, and I said, give me the line. They were going to hit it. We probably should have hit it from the outside too, but we actually get in the door. 22 engine. That's Jimmy Farrell in 22 engine. One of the best captains I ever worked with. He's still there. He's just great. I mean, he just he always did the right thing. Aggressive, safe, aggressive. I never worried about when 22 showed up. I knew the fire was going out. So he took the line, got in that front door a little bit, and started to hit it. But then it was already to the upper floors, and we were a little short on manpower for this fire. So we went to cover the exposures, but we were going in that front door, believe it or not. So
yeah, that's a little bit of fire there.
Yeah, crazy days. But hey, you know what? We gave it a shot. A lot of these houses, whether they're vacant or not, there were people living in it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, if the first time I actually grabbed somebody at a fire with two homeless guys in the basement of a building. It looked like nobody could live in it, but we knew, back then there were a lot of homeless living in all the vacant buildings. So we looked at a vacant building like it was occupied. That's my friend Lenny. It was a cold day. It was frozen hydrants. The mutual aid company couldn't get the hydrant open, and we had some fun there, though. And then we picked up, went back to quarters, and this is early. I think we probably had a number of runs after this, but we had 2 good fires in a row, so it was fun. We enjoyed it.
Yeah, that sounds like a fun day to me.
Yeah.
So now, at this point, you were captain, right?
Yeah, I was the captain of the rescue. And we were just. It wasn't much to vent because it was out probably 6, 7, 8 windows when we got there. But we figured if Jimmy and his crew pushed in, we were going to go in and search off the line and do what we couldn't do. But we didn't get too far in. But we gave it a shot.
Let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about your volunteer time with Dumont.
Yeah, I was chief in Dumont in '78. And that's our department. Yeah, that was I think apartment fire in one part of the town. Yeah, I had my white helmet, white coat. I did away with the white coat. I didn't like the white coat, even though that was kind of the history of the fire department. But look at the portable radio. The portable radio weighed about 3 pounds.
I was going to say, that looks like a purse.
Yeah. No, it was a big giant, battery in this thing, and But yeah,
The mustache. You look like Pancho Villa.
somebody said it looked like I was wearing a tablecloth under my coat. So after this fire, I would button my coat up. But that was, you know what, that was Dumont. It's all Mac except for one. Engine one was a Mac going from left to right. Engine three was
a Han.
That's an Imperial.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then there was Company 5, or Independent Hose Company. They had I think it was an international. The third one over was an international light truck. It was like kind of an everything. It had some gear on it, but it was mostly to light up fires. And then the latter company, that's Company 2 down in Prospect. They had a 100-foot Mac tower with a steel Theobald, whatever it was called, a Canadian ladder, but it was a steel aerial still back then. And then Engine 5 was a Mac. And actually there were two Macs here. Engine 5 had two Macs, the two on the right. The light truck that you see in the middle there, that was given to Engine 3, and they turned that into Rescue 3. So that was one of the things I'm very proud about in Dumont. The guys from Engine 3 wanted to build a rescue. This is 78. So I gave them the light truck, and they turned it into a rescue. And Engine 5 wanted a second engine because the town was split by the railroad track. So guys from Engine 5 came to me, or Independent Hose, and I said, listen, we should have two engines, and a ladder on one side, and we'll have two engines and a rescue on the other side. So that made a lot of sense with all the guys. I was young. I was only 30 years old, and I was able to do that. I was able to buy them that Mac all the way over on the right, the Mac CF. That Mac, I think it was the last fire truck under $100,000, if I remember. Yeah, and
under 100,000.
Yeah, and we had three chief cars with my car, and then the first assistant, second assistant, but you know what? These guys, they just kind of mimic New York City. You would think you walked into a firehouse in the Bronx. Everybody had the black gear and New York helmets, and we used the 10 code, the New York City 10 code. It was just the way it was. It was like that for a long time. But I was fortunate that the younger guys were looking for a change instead of having the typically the oldest guy get elected chief. They came to me and said, I guess because I was a career fireman, I said, all right, I'll give it a shot. And, I got enough votes and I got elected, and was the assistant chief for 2 years and a chief of department in 78. So it was kind of fun. We had a good time. Got a good mayor and council let me buy just about anything I wanted to enhance the fire department, which was really good. Well, that was fun years, and then I moved to West Milford the year after.
Yeah, I don't have any pictures from.
No, I should have. West Milford was different because it was semi-rural, and I remember the first, I joined, and the first drill night I went to was on folder tanks. I don't even know what the hell they were. A folder tank. They were telling me about drafting and folder tanks and tankers, and I learned a lot. Though I learned a lot. I learned about what you do when there's no hydrants.
I actually, when I was up at Picatinny Arsenal, we took our tanker to Jersey City a few times for water main breaks. And and stuff like that.
Yeah, we had no water in the city one weekend. We had tankers from all over the state. Yep.
Yeah. And then I want to say we weren't even gone for an hour, and they had a 3-alarm fire or something.
Yeah, I think a lot of the volley tankers, went to fire. They would run all over the city, and it was Super Bowl Sunday. I remember when the viaduct coming down from Booton broke, and when they transferred it over to the other viaduct, that broke because it was too much pressure. But anyway, there were 2 days with zero water in that city, and everything got put out with the tankers, and it was very interesting few days. I thought it was going to be crazy, but that worked out well. We got all the volleys together and explained to them what we were going to do, and two tankers would go with the first alarm, and all worked out. And, it was good to see the whole state come together and help Jersey City. It was good, very good.
Yeah. So now you were saying you were the first captain when they brought Rescue 1 in.
Yeah. It was.
Was there a plan? Was it a, hey, Butch, here it is?
No.
Figure it out, or
When they came up with the idea, that there were two of us, Frank Bentavegna, who was a cop, but he'd been a fireman for a while, and he was a volley down in South Jersey. Him and I, they came to us and said, the idea was we're going to start a rescue, find out what you need. And we knew it was going to be a year process, finding out what equipment we wanted. I mean, we had an idea, but I wanted to get some backing. And Frank knew what kind of truck we wanted. So Frank worked on the equipment, so to speak, and some of the SOPs. I helped him a little bit. And then I hit the road. I went over, the first thing I did was I went over to Rescue 3. Mickey Conboy, who was in my volley department before he became a New York City fireman. I knew him, and Pete Lund was there. I met Pete Lund because I'd been doing a lot of work with Firehouse Expo, and Pete was one of the instructors down there. So I went over there a few times, and Pete and all those guys told me, you're starting out, this is what you need, and this is why you need it. And what to do with the 5-person crew. I mean, they were running with 6, 7. So I went there first. Then from there, I went down to Philadelphia. Freddie Endicott was the lieutenant in Rescue 1 in Philly. They only had one for that whole city. And Freddie, again, was a friend of mine. We had done some work together. And so I spent a few days with Freddie going over. And they were more the model I like, because they were the only rescue in the city. So he was telling me what they responded on, what equipment they needed, how they assisted other companies. And so I got, when I went to see these guys, I came back with reams of paper on equipment and whatnot. And then after that, I went up to Boston. I knew a couple guys in Boston. They had 2 rescues. I did the same thing. This is over a few months. And, I talked to Ray Downey, who, Ray, again, was hooked into Firehouse Expo and Firehouse Magazine. So I went to see Ray, and he was really good about what we needed. And one of the things he said to me, he goes, listen, when you start the rescue, because they closed a couple companies, he said, nobody's going to like you. And I said, we'll see.
Yeah, nobody's going to be happy.
Nobody liked us. So I got all that information. Frank went other places. We started writing SOPs. And what was helpful for the union let us, in Jersey City, you can't get a spot. You have to bid for it. And you get a year. Every year you're on a job, you get 1 point. So if you bid someplace and 2 guys bid it, if you're on 6 years and the guy's on 5, the guy with 6 years gets it. If the guy with 20 years, so it was a bidding system. But we went to the union and we decided to start the rescue. We went by resume. So guys would hand in their resume, because there were a lot of guys that moved out of the city with volleys, and that worked out really well, because now we're getting guys that know a lot about some of the equipment. So we hit the road running. And then after we got established, then it went back to bidding into it, and we trained guys. But it was good. We started in 91. I forget what year, what month it was, but we started, like I said, with the van. And because Jersey City was so small, we started out on every box in the city. So we were busy. I mean, we were doing 15, 20 months. And
not a bad day.
And because this, easy. And because the city was so small, we got a good piece of every fire. If we got in right behind the first alarm, sometimes before. It was just a lot of fun. But it was more than just going to fires. I mean, that was a primary thing. We were five guys showing up, and the battalion or deputy could give us anything, engine work. And we went to every extrication in the city. We got trained in high angle rescue, so we went to a couple things on the bridges and the cliffs up in the north end. Everything's a hazmat, because Jersey City had their own hazmat company downtown, so we didn't have to worry about it. And water rescue, no diving. A couple of the guys that got in the company said they wanted to be scuba diving, but I talked to guys in Rescue 1 over in New York City briefly, and they said if you dive, you're done for hours. Once you come out of the water, this thing, the other thing, you got to watch your blood and air, and you blah blah blah. And basically they said to me, you only have one rescue. You're it. So if you dive, you're probably done for half the tour. So we decided just to do water rescue. We had, we had the suits, and we had a boat that another company would bring, and we had the ropes, and we had all the things that necessary. If there was a boating accident, Jersey City had a fire boat that was given to us by the federal government after 9/11, and we'd work in conjunction with that, and we had the police backing us up. And the other thing for water rescues in New York Harbor, we had the Coast Guard over on the island. New York City had about 10 fireboats. The Emergency Services Unit in New York City had about 10 rescue boats. So, it was something we wanted to do for the peers and whatnot around us. But so we were a well-rounded group. Got certified, and when we went for a high angle, we were certified. We did that with the Passaic County Police. They brought some experts in, and I got all our guys into the class. I made a deal with the sheriff at the time. I wrote the respiratory protection program for the jail because they had Scott packs hanging on the wall, and apparently the state came in and said, "Hey, you don't have a respiratory protection program. You can't use these things." So I wrote their respiratory protection plan because I had done it for Jersey City, and I traded that because I said to him, "Well, it'd be like $5,000-$6,000 to write that." I didn't know how much it cost, but I made it. So he said, "Okay." So all the guys went to the rescue class with that. So every guy in the rescue, there were 20, 22 of us or whatever it was, and we got some good training on the cliffs of Patterson. Yeah. So anyway, so that's how it got started. We really did our homework, and we really hit the streets running. At the beginning, we could go in service right away because generally the chiefs would release us as soon as it was under control or they got into the overhaul stage. But we stayed and we picked up holes. The guys in the rescue picked up more holes at the beginning than the engine guys. We just stayed. We helped clean up. We went in service on the scene. A small city. We didn't. The city would. Our first due was the entire city, so it didn't matter where we were. And so we, and eventually, we made our mark. Because there were a couple incidents where guys got in a little trouble in a burning building, and the next thing you heard on the radio, "Rescue 1, where are you?" Because we had search ropes. And eventually, the whole department got it, but we trained a lot on rescuing trapped firemen, and so then it was pretty good. And then guys started to bid in, and you go to Jersey City now. There's a list every year. There's a list of guys that want to bid to the rescue. And
I'm sure.
it became pretty popular. And I think a lot of guys, you could be good on the engine, you could be good on a ladder truck, and I like that you become good on one thing, but go over to the rescue, you had to be good in everything, and if you weren't, we taught you how to be good, and I wouldn't, maybe we weren't the best company in the city, but we certainly could handle a lot of different situations that maybe one company couldn't, or an odd
Jacks
situation.
of all trades.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I always said, and I hope nobody takes offense to this, but my years in the rescue were the most fun I had with my clothes on. we had an absolute ball.
So now,
yeah.
Was this the first purpose-built rescue truck that you guys had?
Yeah. That was built. We measured all the compartments, told them how much everything weighed, and they built this from scratch. It was supposed to be air conditioned. The air conditioner lasted about 3 days, and I guess they didn't figure out the roads in Jersey City because we broke springs every few months. We break a spring and had to use a spare and fix the springs, and then we had a couple small electrical fires on the rig, and it was nice. It was it was the first one. It was plenty of room. We wanted the cabs so you can go in the back of the rig and come all the way up to the to sit in the jump seat, or you could sit on a bench in the back seat.
Okay.
But it just didn't last, and then after that they went the next two after that were Pierce. They were built pretty good and a little bit bigger and smaller.
Now, how did they let you guys spec the truck the way you wanted it, or
If Frank Bentavegna had a lot to do with that. We spec'd it out. We told them what was going to be in each compartment. We knew where we were going to put stuff, and but it just I guess maybe the potholes or whatever. We broke a lot of springs, and like the air conditioner it wasn't a big air conditioner on the roof. It was kind of like a smaller one that was in the wall, and it never cooled anything. So but we learned. We used it for a few years, and then they got like I said, they got a nice sized Pierce, always single axle. Streets in Jersey City were really, really small, and we just thought that the dual wheels in the back would give us give us more room, but a
Yeah.
little bit more trouble. So, and after that, it's been pretty good. The equipment's been good, and they've kept it up. And it's one of the busiest companies in the city, as you can imagine, still to this day.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So now you get promoted to battalion chief in 97.
If you say so. Yeah, my memory's terrible. I wrote it down here somewhere, but yeah, I got promoted, and I want to stay in the south end of the city. I was lucky. 2nd Battalion Group C, the chief down there was retiring. He'd been there, forever, and I got the spot down there. In the 2nd Battalion, rode out of Engine 19, Ladder 8. And again, all good companies. South end of the city, all good companies. Engine 8, a single engine, was terrific. 22 engine, towel out of 4, engine 13. I only had 4 companies, covering a small area, but busy as all hell. And all good guys. I never had to worry about when I got to a fire. Very rarely have to say anything. They would pull up and they knew first 2 engine was going in, second 2 was getting a feed and a backup line, and et cetera, et cetera. And of course, when the rescue came down, I put them to work all the time quickly. But yeah, so that was good. I had a great time down there. Just
Now, how many battalions were there at that time?
4. Jersey City's always had 4.
Always 4.
Yeah,
Okay.
Again, people say to me, "Oh, it's so small," but you know what? It's always had 4. There's today. I mean, when I was there were 5 chiefs on duty. There were 4. There were 4 battalion chiefs, a deputy chief, and so there were 5 chiefs on duty. Then they went to 6. Then they put a safety chief on. So
I was going to say, I think they have a safety chief now, don't they?
Yeah, and they also have something called the field training officer. And if you have Deputy Chief Zappella on, she could explain that to you. It was partially her idea. So now the field train, every shift has their own battalion chief in charge of training. But they work 24 on, 72 off, just like a regular company. They go to every fire, and they can look and see if there were any mistakes made, or there are another set of eyes. They may get sent to the back of the building. So
now that's separate from the safety chief?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They were just field training officer, but they would go and get assigned by the deputy. So the way it worked is the 1st battalion chief took command. Working fire, you get a 2nd battalion chief, and that chief takes the interior, generally. Takes the interior, so you had a chief inside. 3rd alarm, you get another chief. The deputy comes on a working fire, and he would assign. Sometimes he would just stand there with the first 2 chief, or he would assign you to another floor or to the roof. And I like the fact that we had a lot of eyes on the fire, a lot of chief officers. Some departments don't like that. The chief's getting involved with the companies, but that's not Jersey City. The chief that goes inside, just watch us for the safety, give a report. If the chief goes to the roof, again, he's just there for safety. If they call rescue or the roof division, was ever in charge, will answer. And there's a lot of eyes on the fire, and we have a great safety record. So I liked it. So yeah, so now there's 4, 5, there's 6 chiefs on each shift.
I mean, there's something to say for having leadership, especially in our job, because you look at the NIOSH 5, and one of the things that it said, there was no incident command, no safety officer. These are the repeating, not causes of the line of duty death, but these are things that we're seeing in every time.
Didn't see. Yeah.
Somebody's missing a communication. Well, because you only have one guy standing outside, and he was getting, what was it? I was just somewhere, and they were talking about, it was Chief Myers from FDNY, Mike Myers, the chief of safety. They did a study, or somebody did a study, and there, in a minute's time, in an average minute on a fire ground, there's I think he said 15 communications with command.
Yeah. I
so
agree.
think about that.
Yeah.
That's why you're missing stuff. There's so much radio traffic that the incident commander is trying to. So now you put an extra set of ears there that isn't dedicated to a crew to running a hose line or a roof operation.
Yep.
Essentially, that's another safety officer. And that's somebody else that can be like, "Hey, Chief, did you just hear that? Was that a mayday?" It's something. Maydays get missed. Dispatchers get hear things and go to report them to the command, and command doesn't hear the dispatch, or vice versa.
Yeah, we're really good. We're really good with communications in Jersey City. Maybe we step on each other once in a while, but we've come a long way. When I first went to Jersey City for years, only the officer had a radio. And if you were on a truck, maybe you had a spare radio, but if you were on a truck, I mean, we'd split up with 4 guys on a truck. I would, we would split up, and 2 guys would go with no radio. But you know what? I was in a life-threatening, not to tell another story about me, but situation.
No. That's why you're on here, to talk about you, talk about your experiences.
We get in 20 engines. Oh, that's the second life-threatening thing. That's
we'll go to the first one, then we'll go to that one.
Yeah, I didn't send you a picture, but it was a 2.5-story frame. There's a guy transferred over to 20 engine, Jimmy Early. Now, Jimmy Early is a legendary captain in the Jersey City Fire Department. I mean, this guy, he's another one. You know what? When you talk about safe, aggressive firefighting, Jimmy just knew where to go and when to go. I mean, but if you ask anybody on the job, you say Jimmy Early, and his father was on before him, but they would say Jimmy was like the best. That people rotated, that wanted to work for him. So Jimmy and I he was less time on than I had. I was like maybe 3 years on a job, 4 years, and we get into this 2.5-story frame, and people screaming about this girl trapped up on the attic apartment. We get up there with the line 1.5 inch long. We get up there, and Jack Duffy, I think, was a lieutenant. Just as we get in, we crawl. I don't have my mask on, of course. It's hanging at my side. I'm waiting until it gets really bad before I put it on. And we're getting in. It's getting really hot, and there's fire, blah, blah, blah. And Jack Duffy, the lieutenant, he goes back to hump some more hose up the stairs because we needed a few more feet. And the roof caved in on us and pancaked Jimmy and I. We were just couldn't move. Could hear the fire crackling above us. We have no radios, no pass alarms. I mean, it was before that. You might have had your SCBA if the air ran out, but I'm struggling to get my mask up now, and I it seemed like an eternity, but within like 60 seconds or less, Jack Duffy and another fireman from Ladder 5, Mike Lynch, another great fireman, were able to kind of crawl in a little bit, and Mike Lynch got up on his hands and knees a little bit and lifted the debris, and Jack pulled me out by my boots, and then went back in and pulled Jimmy up by his boots. And it was, but the 2 things about that. One, not having a radio, thank God that Jack was just gone for, Lieutenant Duffy was just gone for a minute, no, less than a minute. Otherwise, what are you going to do? And the other thing is, they pull us out, we go down, we sit in the back we sit on a bumper of the ambulance, and they check us and blah, blah, blah. We get some burns on our ears and some tar back of my neck. But half hour later, you know what? We're back in the firehouse, high-fiving, laughing. Wasn't that great? It's just the way it was, and it's still like that. I mean, you know what? You can't give high fives in the street anymore, even if it's a vacant building, because somebody will take a picture and say, "Oh, look at this stupid fireman! This house caught on fire." But it's just
firefighters celebrate.
Yeah, it's kind of relieving the stress. I mean, people don't understand the stress of going in and putting a fire out or searching a building, and it's the relief. You get outside, before the cameras and everything came about, we were back to the firehouse. We were laughing. Wasn't that great? Oh, yeah, and blah, blah, blah. And so, but so anyway, that was before. And then Onyx Chemical happened. And again, that was with Jack Duffy, who was a captain now. But that was, there was a second alarm downtown Jersey City. So all the companies were there. This was actually a downtown box on Grant Street. But engine 20 and ladder 5 got in first due. And long story short, the guy said it was a 2-story building that had some interior tanks of chemicals holding about 25,000 gallons that started in the basement, went up to the roof line. And he said, it's alcohol fumes burning at the rim of the tank. He said, we get it all the time. He said, but somebody called it in, they saw the smoke. So we go down there, and Jack says,
all the time. Happens all the time.
He said, oh, yeah, you can put it out with an extinguisher.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
We drag an inch and a half up, but we had to go up like a metal ladder onto a catwalk to another metal ladder to another catwalk. And, I could see some flames and some smoke, and it was getting pretty lousy. And I know we were in a chemical factory, and again, I got the nozzle, and I'm waiting, and the guy behind me, he put his mask on right away. He ran out of air, so Jack told him to go down and get another bottle, and again, Jack couldn't get through on the radio, so he walked down the catwalk to the ladder, I think to get a message out. And with that, I see a fireman falls through the roof, and he's from the waist down. I can see this fireman dangling there, and he's over this 25,000 gallon tank, 2.5-story tank with no lid on it, with fire coming up from alongside of it. And I'm saying, what? And when he came through, it was like a flood of I thought it was water, but the fact is there was a big pipe that went across the roof of this building. It had been leaking for weeks. And whatever it was, the chemical was so powerful, it ate through the roof, the tar, the wood, and it was dripping, and it was causing a fire at the base of this tank. So it was Kenny Drennan, he was the Captain Engine 9. When he fell through, all the chemical, not water, that was up there, cascaded down. And when it hit the fire at the base of this tank, it just blew. And it blew me back onto my back. My mask went off to the side. I was hanging on for dear life because I was on this metal catwalk, and
like you seen out of backdraft.
Yeah, it was just an explosion from the fumes and whatnot. And Jack had scurried down. I don't know if it knocked him off the ladder or whatever, but now. But I opened up the line, and I stayed there. And Kenny Drennan, the captain, he's dangling over this tank, and I'm saying if he goes through the roof, I can't do anything about it because he's going to fall into this giant tank. And he just kept the line on him in straight stream. I mean, he told me later on, he said, that hurt, but kind of was a joke. And then they pulled him out. I saw him, once they pulled him out, I dropped the line and I crawled down this catwalk because I couldn't see anymore, the chemicals in my eyes and whatnot. And as I got down the first ladder, I realized I'm having trouble breathing, and my throat, and by the time I got to there, I hadn't taken a breath in in a minute or two. My throat was. They gave us some drugs right away. I think 29 of us went to the hospital. I was the last guy pulled out. I remember there was a chief just leaving the building on the first floor. His name was Gray, and it was on the bottom of his coat. And I crawled and tackled him because I was pretty scared. And he thought he was leaving. He thought everybody was out. I mean, there was no accountability system. I didn't have a radio.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of chaos because of what happened. And I finally got to the hospital. I was off the job for about 3 months. Kenny Drennan had some really bad chemical burns on his legs, but I guess just hitting him with this line as long as I could, helped him get out of the situation. And we all went to the medical center, and like I said, I was out of work for about 3 months. Respiratory this, respiratory that. They sent me out to St. Elizabeth's. Thought, this is old school. I had the hand light with the rope tied around it.
Yeah, I see that.
And I had hair.
And then
I had hair.
So Ruben over here with the
yeah.
IMA.
And the medical director from the medical center, I think that's who I can't remember his name, but they dragged me to they were calling for like 10 or 15 ambulances because 29 of us went with chemical burns. Yeah. So I was fortunate. I was just fortunate that I got out of there. I mean,
how long was the line at decon?
I don't think decon was invented yet. This was in the 70s, and it was
all washed down the sewer.
Yeah, I would just they put us all in a ward, and they had to wash our bodies down with vinegar. I mean, with a brush, naked. And I'm looking in, they had all these stalls, and we were lined up, we had towels around us, but we had to go in there, and a nurse would scrape us down. And, everybody but me had a very friendly nurse. and I had the only male nurse in the hospital, and I was just screaming. But they had to get the what they thought were the chemicals off. So we did that, and again, I came back to work 3 months later, and we didn't laugh about this fight. We talked about it, but nobody laughed about it. You know what?
Yeah, there was no joking around.
Well, it started companies after that. Companies started going to other battalions to look at some of the hazards, because I had never been in this building because it wasn't in my battalion. So that kind of was an eye opener to the job that we need to be. Everybody needs a small city. We need to know what dangers are in every battalion. So something good came out of it. Yeah, something good came out of it.
Pre-plan. Today we have MDTs with pre-plans and
absolutely. Yep. Yeah. So again, it was just one of those things. And
but now you look at that from from step back into the volunteer world, mutual aid. I don't know what they have in this town, and I mean, I thought about that one time with Knox boxes.
Yeah,
I'm covering this company. I don't have a Knox box key to open up their key. What am I gonna do if I get a commercial alarm tonight?
Well, it was one of the things, when I had my training company, it was called Fireground Survivor LLC, and I had 4 main guys, and then I had another like 10 that we traveled all over the country. But one of the things when I went in, and we were teaching, rescuing trapped, lost, disoriented firemen was the name of the course. All hands on, a half hour in a class when the rest was hands on. But I would say to guys on mutual aid, I said, you all have Scott packs. You know the Scott pack. You know how to change a cylinder. You know how to buddy breathe. I said, the next company over, what do they have? MSAs. The guy with the MSAs. I said, well, I said, if they come on mutual aid or if their rapid intervention crew comes with MSAs, I said, you crawl in. How do you change it? And I said, how do you turn the pass alarm off on an MSA? And the guys that had the Scots would say, oh, we don't know how. And I said, listen, the first thing I taught you in that classroom, if you remember, if you come across a fireman who's down, his pass alarm's going off, before you do anything, you have to turn the pass alarm off. Because the sound of that shrieking pass alarm will make it impossible for you to talk to your guys or talk on the radio. And it calms the whole scene down. And everybody said, really? We never thought about that. I said, well, so when I did classes, like at Firehouse or the FDIC, in a classroom, I have 2 pass alarms up on the stage. And I put the mic down and turned both of them on, and nobody could hear me. And everybody like yelling, stop. And then I would tell them about, this is what happens when you find a down fireman with his pass alarm going up. But anyway, simple thing. But yeah.
But it gets the point, and you think about it, your adrenaline's already jacked up.
Oh, yeah.
And now you're on top of them.
Yeah.
And the guys on the hand line on the other side of the house or the other room or whatever, now they hear that pass alarm goes off. All right, hey, you know what? Rick team's got them. Now their blood pressure can come down a little bit, and they can focus on what they're doing. I mean, I get it.
Once you're kneeling over a guy trying to get him out of a building and his alarm's going off, I'll tell you what, it's just really, you can't think, you can't, because you know how loud those things are. So again, something simple. Know your equipment.
They're loud for a purpose.
Like I said, mutual aid company comes in, you don't know what they're wearing, what they're doing, and that's why you should train with your mutual aid companies all the time.
Forget mutual aid. My one of my departments, I won't mention any names, we wear MSA. Our own RIT pack is a Scott.
Well, again, know your equipment, right? Yeah.
But we were, now the reverse of that, we were a RIT department in one of my other volunteer houses, and we were the spot of pepper, the grain of pepper in the sea of salt that had MSA, and everybody else around us had Scott. So we weren't familiar with their equipment, and that's who we were going RIT to.
Yeah. I saw a couple of minutes ago another little thing from Lenny Ribicki, worked in a rescue with me for many years. And
this one here.
Oh, yeah.
FTO is an additional safety officer.
Yeah. So we kind of wound up with 2. Lenny Ribicki and Pete Greasy were my original, when I had my training company, they were the original guys that traveled with me. And then Glenn Yankowski came with us, and a couple other guys. But
Okay.
Pete was great. Pete was a great fireman. Lenny's nickname was the Saw, because Lenny could do magical things with a K-12 or any saw on the roof. So that was his name.
All right, my kind of guy.
Yeah, yeah.
So now let's get into some of the train. This one here, is that at Firehouse down in Baltimore?
Yeah, I think so. It was it might have been in Norfolk. I ran a lot of the training programs for Firehouse Magazine. I'm thinking, but this is a great team. There's everybody
John
there.
Norman all the way on the right.
Yeah, John Norman's there. There's Mike Crawford, the guy in the middle with his arms crossed. He's from Providence. To his left is oh God, these guys are going to scream at me for not remembering their names. But another guy from Providence. There's Jimmy Crawford, a different Crawford, the guy with the hat on and the red shoulder strap, just to the left of John Norman. He was a lieutenant. He was the assistant chief, lieutenant, and assistant chief in Pittsburgh. Jimmy Crawford, and now he's down. I think Paulie Island. He's the assistant chief down there. But all these guys were superstars, and I got to learn from them because I was coordinating all this training and asking all these guys if they wanted to come and do a program, and so it was. I got to meet so many superstars. I learned so much from these guys. I mean, I credit a lot of my success for being able to, being the coordinator of training for hands-on training for Firehouse Magazine. That's all I ever. For me, training is hands-on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a hands-on physical job.
But that's part of a crew. We were probably doing some search and rescue, something. But just a great crew and. Just the pictures. If I had to blow up in a picture, I could probably give you more names, and you know what? But I'll get phone calls tonight. But anyway, yeah.
So now, after the tragic Worcester fire, December 3rd, 1999, I know you set up. You were pivotal, or the pinnacle in setting up some memorial training. Seminars, conferences, if you will. You want to talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, real quick. I was sitting at my computer after that. I drove up there. Myself and Lenny Rubicki went up there they actually had some of the memorial services of the funerals before they found everybody. So Lenny and I went up there and pay our respects, and we stood at the fence when we got up there and watched them digging. There was still two guys missing. And we went to the memorial service, and it was you had to have tears in your eyes. I mean, it was just. And then I realized, looking into Worcester, they were a mirror of Jersey City, almost the same size, bigger in area, same response. 4 engines, 2 trucks, and a rescue on a box. They had one rescue for the whole city. So,
and it's actually eerie that cold storage building right by the entrance of the Holland Tunnel. Right by the 495, or not 495, 440. That's the exact same building, same blueprint, same architect, everything.
I wrote a story about that in fire engineering because they probably.
I think that's where I learned this from.
The Worcester guys probably saved Jersey City guys' lives because. Well, let me get back to the beginning. I got an email from Andy White. He was a lieutenant, and I'm saying, well, what is this? And he asked me to call him, and he had read. I had been doing a lot of articles and training on rescuing trapped firemen, and he said, "Is there any way you could come up and and talk to us and kind of look at what we did and maybe set up a training program?" Now this was through the union. This was not through the fire department. So I went up there. So I went and talked to all these guys, and I was a little leery about it because we were going to do it on the weekend, and all the off-duty guys could come and blah, blah, blah. But I was still worried that the chief of training and the fire, the hierarchy would be. But so what we did was I was doing some training with Mickey Conboy at the time. He was a fireman, but he was in Rescue 3. And Mickey and I knew Mickey since he was a junior fireman back in Dumont where I used to live. So Mickey and I have been friends for 30, 40 years, so something like that.
Are you saying he was an NJ fire guy?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, before he moved to New York City and became a New York City fireman, but he was at a Dumont, New Jersey. Yeah, he would.
Just another example of the
Yeah,
greatest firemen in the world grow out in New Jersey.
yeah. He was a superstar when he became a full fireman in Dumont. So I called Mickey. We've been doing some traveling around. We went up to Connecticut, a couple places. So Mickey and I went up and we talked to the guys, and we listened to them and we listened to their stories, and they were heartbreaking. I mean, heartbreaking. And I met Mike McNamee. I sat in his office, and Mike and I talked for a long time. So I said, yeah. I said, Mickey and I. So it was Mickey and I, and I think two guys from Providence. I got really friendly with the guys on Rescue One in Providence. Oh God, I'm trying to think who else was there. But anyway, so the idea was they had a vacant strip mall, 2-story buildings, had a vacant movie theater. So I said, okay, I'll do. I was into search ropes back then. I was a big proponent of search ropes in commercial buildings. So I was going to do that, and Mickey and the other guys were going to do, search and rescue and trap firefighters, head first bailout, all that stuff. So, and we had all these vacant buildings. It was perfect. And so what they told the chief of training was, give me 4 or 5 guys from each group. They had 4 groups. We'll do a trainer. I'll give them all the slides. I'll give them the little pamphlet or the booklet that I had, and they could go back and teach the rest of the fire department. So the word got out, and that's what we were going to do. But the first day that we did it, we were doing, I think, Saturday and Sunday. The first day we got there, it wasn't 4 or 5 guys. It was like 40 guys from the Worcester Fire Department showed up and wanted to take the training there and then. They didn't want to wait. So we wound up doing, I don't know how many. We did a ton of Worcester firemen, left them with the trainer program. And then before we left, Mickey and I were talking to the guys in the union, Johnny Daly and Andy Whiten. And I said, listen, what if we do a little Saturday class? Mickey and I just, we'll come up and we'll talk about rescue and trap firefighters. We'll talk about, all things rescue. And they said, oh, yeah, good. Okay. And I said, we'll, if we can make $1,500, $2,000, we'll give it to the wives and kids. There was like 12, 14 kids left behind and the 6 wives. So I said, okay. Long story short, I asked Harvey Eisner if he could do a little something in the magazine, just, kind of promote it. And he said, sure. So he did that. And the guys from Worcester called me and said, listen, we got about 100 guys signed up already. And it's growing by the day. And I said, all right. So, they said, we won't have it in high school. We're going to try to find a bigger venue. And then Harvey gave us So long story, these are guys from the union. That was the check I gave them for the first seminar I did with Mike Turpak down in Jersey City. But Harvey gave us like a half a page ad, and they called me up and said, we got 400 people signed up and it's growing. And then we got 600 people. They said, we got to find a bigger. So finally we went to, there was a big, it was kind of like a Madison Square Garden, but a smaller version in the middle of Worcester. Go back to that picture and just let me finish the story. So the first day of the first seminar, we had 1,200 people show up for Saturday and Sunday.
Wow.
1,200. It's unheard of. And every dime went to the 6 wives. So we did that. And then somebody said, let's do it again next year. And the gist of it was we did it 6 years in a row, one for each guy. And all the money got donated at the beginning to the wives and kids, and then to other things. And then we started doing hands-on training, which I don't think I sent you a picture of the hands-on. It had a vacant hospital with like 6, 7 buildings in it that were being torn down. And we started doing that, but 1,200. And here's a quick story of brotherhood.
Absolutely.
I started calling. All the contacts I had with firehouse, I called Vinny Dunn, explained to him, and he said, I'm in. I said, well, don't you want to look at count? No, he says, I'm coming. Just tell me when and where. Okay. Call John. Call John Noman. John said, I'm in. I called John Noman. He said, he's in. Mike Smith, retired deputy chief out of Washington, D.C., wrote a great book on building fires. And Mike wrote his book on what happens when the building comes down, not as you built it. So anyway, I called Mike Smith. John Salker. Tell me when, Butch, I'm coming. Okay. Mickey Conboy, Mark McLeese out of Rescue 1 in Syracuse, myself, I don't want to be leaving it. Oh, Jimmy Smith out of Philadelphia. Again, absolutely. So I had all these guys, just, the only guy that didn't come, and this is going to be kind of a sad story. The only guy that didn't come was Ray Downey. And this was in 2000. But he said to me, pencil me in next year. He said, you know what? Because he was in the middle of putting together the federal USAR system.
Yeah, the USAR task force.
Yeah, and Ray was at the beginning of that, and he was busy with that. So I said, okay. I said, I'll remember you next year. And
2001.
Yeah. And he said to me, I'm coming. And I started putting it all together again. And if any of the first guys wanted to come back, and what I told him was, your own dime. But we got a few hotel rooms afterwards. But anyway, I called Ray earlier and told him at the end of 2000, I said, we said we're going to have it. I forget what month it was, in April or something, 2000. No, it was, I think it was October of 2001. So Ray said, we all were on computer buffs back then. So he sent me his whole program in an envelope. And when I got it, I still have the envelope, because when I got home after what we did, what Jersey City did at 9/11, my wife gave me the envelope, and it was postmarked 9/11/2001. That was Ray's envelope, Chief Downey's envelope.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and the other thing that happened in 2001, I called Mickey and John, and I said, listen, don't come. But by this time now, I got a list of guys that wanted to come from all over the country. So they said, no, So, what happened? Mickey and John left the pile, all right? Left the pile, came up, spoke, and went back. And went right back. And I made a point of getting up on stage and telling everybody, these two guys, I mean, they were pretty famous guys, but that was amazing to me that they wanted to keep that going for Worcester. And they went back. And so we did it for,
like you said, it's true story of brotherhood.
Yeah,
of the brotherhood.
We did it for 6 years. It worked great. To this day, the core group of instructors from Worcester and 4 or 5 of us from from outside of Worcester that helped put it all together. We still meet generally the first week in December. It's changed, it varied. And 1 year we'll go to Worcester. 1 year we'll go to Orange County, where most of the New York City guys live, and then the third year we go to Jersey City and we start the rotation. And we've been doing that since 2006. Every year we get together. It's just a bond that's never going to be broken. We talk and we talk a little bit about what happened, and but the rest of it is just what's going on in your life. And some guys are retired,
grandkids, and
so that's
now. I have another picture here that's labeled Worcester.
Oh yeah, this is one of the Worcester events that we had that we went up to with myself, Mark McLeese, the chief from Syracuse, and that's the chief deputy. The chief deputy is the number 2 guy at the LA County Fire Department, Johnny Tripp, now a longtime friend.
Okay.
He's from Connecticut, East Coast boy, but he went out there he came with Mike Bryan, a deputy chief. And they came to the 2nd or 3rd Worcester seminar and said to the Worcester guys, what would it cost us to take this whole thing to LA County? They wanted to do something called East meets West. And, the guy from Worcester said, I'll go talk to Butch. Butch and Mickey, they run this whole thing. So they came to me. They got me in a room and said, what would it cost to bring this out to LA County? And I looked them right in the eye and I said, you couldn't afford it. But they did. We got a good part of the instructors. We went out to LA County. They paid for our airfare, the rooms and boarding, and we had a 1-day seminar, which they had about 700 people at their seminar. It was Johnny Salk and Mickey, me, Mike Smith again, I think John Norman, and then we did hands-on. We all broke down with the hands-on, but what happened when we started hands-on, we from New Jersey and New York City couldn't lead any of the hands-on stages. There had
You
to
speak
be
a different language.
there had to be an LA County certified training instructor and safety officer at the site. But hey, listen, it was their rules, so we went by it.
You
But
know what? That sounds. I got to be honest. That sounds like New Jersey.
yeah, so we did East meets West, probably the first time that ever happened, and then it just kind of ran out. There was some political infighting and etc. And I think after maybe the third or fourth year, it disappeared. But I talked to Mike Bryan and Johnny Tripp every once in a while, and they're threatening to bring it back. And I said, call me. I said, you know what, I can get a crew. And but you know what, it's getting late in life. And but they're the two. That combined with, we did the same thing for the Charleston 9. Nicky Giordano, whose son worked down there, Nicky Giordano's at a Rescue 3. He called me right away and he said, Butch, can we do something? And I said, yeah. I said, you know what? So the only thing different was I got a little smarter. When we did Charleston, I called all the equipment manufacturers and fire truck manufacturers. I called like Scott and Mack and American LaFrance, and I called anybody that sold equipment, and I said, listen, we're going to have this. You can have a free table down here. All you have to do is sponsor one of the speakers. And I got everybody on board. So like Johnny Salker went down. It was like Scott paid for his airfare, his hotel while he was there. The next guy, another company, was a host company. So that's how we did that. And we did 1 year. Obviously, we weren't going to do 9, but it was a tough thing to do because some of the fire department administration in the chief's office didn't like we were down there. They didn't like. Actually, they forbid any Charleston firemen to come to the conference until the chief. Yeah, until the chief went for the first morning session, and then he sent a memo out and said, "Okay, now the union guys can come." It was.
What was the reasoning?
You know what? It was just, you can imagine with 9 guys. He thought we were gonna critique his fire, and it wasn't that at all. And he saw that. When he got there, he saw it. John Norman did store fires. Mike did building construction. Mickey did rescue. John Salker did private house. It was like that. And so we only did 1 year. And again, they all the money went to the 9 wives and kids. I would have done it probably maybe 2 or 3 years, but it just fizzled out. But we did it, and it was some of the things that I'm really proud that all everybody that was attached to that did. The brotherhood. I don't know if you could do that now. Ask a guy to come, to speak for nothing. I don't know how that would work out, but all these guys, I'm missing names. I'm missing and I started having lists, guys from all over the country. I'll do it for free.
Yeah. You know what though? That's brotherhood. That's what we're supposed to do for each other.
Yeah. So there were 3 things I was kind of proud to be part of. So anyway.
So now, we briefly spoke about after 9/11, you put together a presentation for middle school age children, and you sent a couple of pictures of that.
Yeah, there was about 200 kids here and teachers, and
what year was it that you started doing that?
I started doing this in 2002, I think, and it started with let me just think. 2003. It started with Rutgers University called my chief and asked if a couple of us could go over and speak. The Delta Chi fraternity was hosting the national conference, I guess, at Rutgers. So I put together a program with Johnny Austin. Johnny Austin was with me at 9/11. Actually, he was there. He was there for both building collapses. I got there a little after him, but we put this program together. Went over in uniform, did our little thing, and I started building a program. And not funny, yeah, I guess kind of a funny story. Because with the Delta Chi conference, they actually inducted John and I into the Delta Chi fraternity. We are full members to this day. It was just something they gave us before we left, and it was kind of neat. And I went over to the frat house a couple times, but not my cup of tea hanging out with these young guys. But that
Some
was
frat parties.
yeah. So that was pretty good. And I built a program, and then I got some requests from different organizations. After that, the word got out, and I probably did the next year. I did like 10. Then the year it kept going. Some years I would do a lot. Some years I only do 1 or 2.
Now, was it just Jersey City schools, or?
Oh no, this is Goodyear, Arizona.
Oh, wow.
I've done this program all over the country. I did it in LA County. I've done it in Arizona. I've done it up in Connecticut, Massachusetts. And this I do for free. If anybody wants this, because it's an up close and personal view of how Jersey City assisted New York City, and we did a lot that nobody knows about. And
Hey, you guys were, correct me if I'm wrong, to this day, you guys were, of all the organizations that were there and help, you were the only department to ever be called mutual aid for that incident.
I was told that by after the 9/11, a couple chiefs from New York City came over to our medal day, and they said that we were the only fire department the city of New York called to ground zero.
Yeah.
Other departments went and relocated or just went, and nothing wrong with that. That's just a point of reference. And the whole time we were there, we didn't do anything unless there was a New York City officer assigned to us. That was the deal. And when you read that award that I helped the command team, the only way I helped them was that Rick Eggers, who was the chief of Jersey City, would call me on the radio and say, "Find a place where your cell phone works." I usually had to walk like 3 or 4 blocks because the cell phones weren't working at the scene. And he would give me the names, badge numbers, and companies of New York City firemen, Jersey City hospitals, because every one of them were brought across the river. Cops and firemen were brought to Jersey City, along with EMS tells me 4,000 injured cops, firemen, and civilians came across the shore to Hoboken and Jersey City. All the hospitals were filled up, but every fireman that showed up got assigned a union delegate or a member of the union to stay with him, call his family, and tell him he's in the Jersey City Medical Center. He's in Christ Hospital, and if you could talk to him, fine, or just give him an update. He's here. Some guys were having surgery, but every time they went over, Rick Eggers would call me. I'd take out a piece of paper and a pencil, name, badge number, and company, and I'd go to the command post, and I'd grab somebody. And when I first went there, the chief didn't want to talk to me. He was too busy. And so I said to a captain, I said, "Listen, you see this? This is my first list." He said, "These guys are alive in the Jersey City Medical Center." And he said, "Holy shit." So he taps it was a 2-star chief up there at the time. And he told him what was up. And the chief said, "Come here." And I said, "Listen, this," and I did that, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times, telling these guys are alive. And eventually a captain of battalion chief came to me and he said, "You know what? It's the only good information we've gotten in the last like 8 hours that these guys were alive." And some of them, there was one guy that got pulled out of the rubble, but a Jersey City guys, and put on a boat, and they did CPR all the way across the river, and he lived. And he came back and
Wow.
he actually, when he still speaks about, well, I don't know if he speaks about it anymore, but when he did, he credits Jersey City for saving his life. So we were when they said bring a task force over, whatever it was, 4 engines and a truck or whatever it was, that we would send over. They'd meet me. I have the lieutenant, or captain, or the chief from New York City, and they didn't do anything unless they were told where to do it, when to do it, and there was no freelancing. It was all which we were used to. And at the beginning, it was for me, I got kind of depressed because there was a time when Johnny Austin and myself were the only 2 white helmets walking down West Street. And I must have had 15, 20 New York City guys come up to me and say, "Hey, Chief, where do you want us to go? What do you want us to do?" And I said the same thing over and over again. I'm a battalion chief in Jersey City. I said, "Keep walking up to Weston, up by Manhattan College, Weston I forget what the street was. I said, they're setting up, EMS is setting up, because these guys are all bloodied. And I said, they're setting up a little command post there. And I said, the best I could tell you is go there and they're starting to reorganize. Because the command post got hit with the North Tower and everybody in the command post got killed. So it was kind of chaotic. And it was a crazy time. Like I said, John and John was the 3rd Battalion Chief. The three of they asked for the mutual aid was for our mask service unit, not for any manpower. New York City had 12,000 firemen that day. So they were having trouble, I guess. They were having trouble getting the units to the scene, and all we had to do was come through the Holland Tunnel and then come down West Street. And the Port Authority police, the Port Authority Emergency Service units who used to train with us, the same thing. They needed their bottles to refill. So our mass service unit was just a couple hundred yards from the North Tower, right next to the telephone building. And when the North Tower came down, the wind was so strong, it blew the lights off all the rigs, blew the windshields in. Nobody realizes how the wind, and debris blowing down the street. And John and, oh God, I just drew a blank on all the guys. I should have wrote their names down, but I'm trying to think. One of the Drennan brothers was driving the mass service unit, and Buck Weaver, and who was the third? But they set up the MSU, and they made it through both collapses. I mean, they were close to the North Tower when the South Tower fell. But again, they were.
So you guys were called prior to the collapse.
Yeah, they were there before either building fell. And then my chief called me. I had just gotten off duty, and he said, "Go over there and go to the command post," because I had coordinated the training with the rescue for several years with Ray Downey. Ray would have a class on collapse or trench, and he'd call me, and he'd say, I have 5 spots open. I have 6 spots open. So over a period of time, everybody in the rescue took special operations training from New York City. So plus I knew a lot of guys. So the chief said, "Go to the command post." He knew that Chief Downey would be there, but under these circumstances, and he said, "Just tell him, we'll have everything standing by at the Holland Tunnel and blah blah blah." But before I got down there, the North Tower fell and it killed everybody in the command post, and I didn't know that. I'm looking for the command post, and the guy points out a pile of rubble, and he said that's where it was. And I didn't know what happened, but it was just like I said, John and his crew were there for both collapses. They had taken some of the kids out of Stuyvesant High School, which was across the street from the North Tower, and took them over to the water and took a bunch of kids north. And up along the Hudson River, they set up a decon. They found a hose that worked up about 3 blocks north of the North Tower, and they draped the hose over a light tower, street light, and made it kind of like a shower. And they deconned. Well, when I say decon, they cleaned up hundreds of people while they were there that couldn't see. Firemen, cops, civilians, helped them clean up their eyes. They had some medical supplies that I brought over that they could clean out their eyes, and so that was the things they were doing. And at one point I had 2 cops grab me by the shoulder and said, "You got to help us. We got a report of devices in Stuyvesant High School." And I said, "Well, I think my guys already took the kids out." And he said, "No, there's still a group of kids in the that wouldn't leave." And I'm thinking to myself, devices. And the guy said to me, "Yeah," he said, "I don't want to put it over the radio, but we got reports of bombs in Stuyvesant High School." I said, and they're dragging me. I mean, literally by quite a show. And I'm thinking again, my education and bombs, but it was just, we went over there and they were leading the kids out. And as soon as I saw that and the kids were safe, I footed back over, because it was just, it was just kind of scary. I mean, it was bad enough as it was. And I wound up after a while just hooking up with a couple companies, or a company from Harlem, and they were going into void spaces with search ropes. And because I had a white helmet on, I was the tie-off point. So I did that for a while. I was there for like 12 hours, and then we all came back then after that. And then, of course, there was one member of the Jersey City Fire Department, Joe Lavero. He was a uniformed fire dispatcher, and he went over with John Austin, Chief Austin, to handle some of the radio communications. And when it all was going bad, he got out of the car and was at the North Tower at the lobby helping people get out of the building. And when it came down, his brother Mike was on a job with me. He's got some video of Joe, at the North Tower when it came down, and you see him running away. But unfortunately, he got hit with a piece of the North Tower, and a couple of New York City firemen dragged him through the rubble, got him into an abandoned ambulance, and drove him to the hospital. I forget the name of the hospital. St. Vincent's, was it? And he died in the emergency room before they could do any surgery for him. So his name, if you go over there, I should have his plaque number. But if you look there, names of all the firemen and cops that got killed. There's a thing on that waterfall. If you've ever been there, it says Joseph Laredo, Jersey City Fire Department. I forget what panel it's on. I should have looked it up. I forgot though. So we had that, and and in the days after that, we Mike Turpak and he got assigned to get a crew through the Path subway tunnel over to the underneath the North Tower was a mall, and it was 2,000 or 3,000 people in there in the morning, but they actually had been evacuated, but New York City didn't know that, so Mike got. But when they got down into the tunnel, it was like 5 feet of water. They couldn't walk, across the river. So they pumped it out, and then, from what I understand, they got into inflatables and paddles over to the World Trade Center. But it was collapsed down, and everybody had been evacuated. They didn't find anybody down there. So, but that was just something else that we did that nobody knew about. So when I do this program, I just talk about New York City and how we assisted them. This is not all about Jersey City. It's just how we assisted them. And, I've done it in front of schools, VFWs, American Legion halls. I did a program for the FBI. Who else was it? I did the FBI memorial service. I did a thing on 9/11. The drug enforcement people were there, and there were 2 or 3 government agencies that I did the program for, and I still do it. I hadn't done a school in a while, but the school up on me asked, and I set the program up for the age group rather. And when I got done, all the principal and the parents that were there just said that these kids would never have known what this was. And I played a bagpipe. So I told them that, one person from Jersey City died, and I told them the 343, and I had some pictures up on a thing, and I played Amazing Grace on my bagpipes in front of the kids. And when I got done, you could have pin drop. You could have heard a pin drop. I mean, they would just all, there was some teary-eyed teachers, but that's why I do it. I don't want anybody to forget. I've done a couple high schools. Anybody calls me. I just did a fundraiser up in Connecticut. I'm sorry, in Massachusetts, in Townsend, Massachusetts. Chief called me. I went up. I did a fundraiser. I don't know. It was like maybe $10 ahead of something. They had like 130, 140 people show up. Golf course gave us a banquet room, and I did the program. And they made, and what it was for their group that helps out firemen and cops and EMS workers that are kind of down in their luck or injured, and insurance isn't covering. So the money goes with the cops, firemen, and EMS. So I did that for free. Anybody that calls me, other than, depends if I have to fly or not, other than travel expenses, I don't charge anybody a dime, and I make sure all the money goes to where they say it goes. So anyway, that's that.
Yeah, that's great.
You're going to ask me places or anything, or you got some other stuff for me? Maybe on one of your sheets of paper it said best pizza.
Oh, all right. We'll start with.
I mean, I don't want to. I don't want to tell you where we have to go from this, but I just, No.
I mean, we're at an hour and 45 minutes right now. If you wanna call it a night, we can do another episode down the road.
No, hey, listen, it's up to you. I mean, you know the program. I don't know how long people listen to these things, but I'm fine. Ask me another question.
Ask my grade school teachers. I don't shut up. I don't care if anybody's listening. I keep talking.
my age, I don't know how many more of these I can do, but you know what? So throw a picture up, fire a question. I'm up for anything.
So, well, let's get into this one.
Yeah.
This is
two good friends.
legends on legends on legends.
Yeah, well, if you know Alan
This is
Brunasini, that's what he wore. He very rarely put a shirt and tie on or his uniform. He wore a flowered shirt. So this is the Alan Brunasini's birthday. I forget what it was.
oh, okay.
Yeah. And I got invited. I got to know him pretty well. Lunch with him out in Arizona while he moved out there, and we got to be pretty good friends. And I wasn't a big fan of his at the beginning, but you know what? I told him every promotional exam in the state of New Jersey for fire officer, you have to read his book because there's questions about, Alan Brunasini's incident management, incident command, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Fire
I know
command.
his family, his sons, and so I got invited to his birthday party, and of course, him and Harvey were good friends. And Harvey and I go back to our volunteer days. I was in Dumont. Harvey was in the next town over in Tenafly, and he was the chief in Tenafly Volunteer Fire Department for a long time. So Harvey and I go back. I think almost before the magazine. So I just, it's a picture somebody took, and of course they're iconic. I mean, they probably have done more for the fire service than any other two people I can think of. So it was just nice to be at his party, and we had some fun. And no matter where you were with Alan Brunasini, you learned something.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Good guy. Sorry to see him go. Yeah.
This
came
Hall of Fame.
Yeah, this came as a surprise when Pete Matthews called me back in 22. I mean, they always have somebody, and a bunch of guys from Jersey City came down. But these are my three main people from Jersey. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot more. I mean, I wish Glenn could have been there, and a couple of the other guys. But everybody has different thing going on in their lives. But it's Pete Grecian, all right, 41 years in Jersey City, still in charge of the 2nd Battalion. Lenny Rubicki, retired captain out of Ladder 8, but they were both rescued with me. And Pete became the captain of the rescue when I left, which I was glad to see. And then the guy back there with the tie on, Dennis O'Neill, he was my mentor for my entire career. He's a brilliant man. I'm sorry.
He will be a guest on a future episode of NJ Fire Guys.
Nobody knows the fire service like Dennis O'Neill from being
brilliant man.
Superintendent of the National Fire Academy, being the deputy director of the U.S. Fire Administration. I mean, he knows it all. He has probably the greatest view of the fire service in our country. And, he kind of took me under his wing way back when. He had a company that was teaching, guys and girls how to take the assessment center. And I listened to him and I studied everything he gave me. And I was real fortunate that I did well on every test. But he was more than that. He was a friend, like I said, a mentor, and Dennis, a lot of people thought he was pretty strict, but you know what? I look back and I told him the other night, I wish I was more like him. I was a little bit too easygoing, I believe, but then all three of these guys have a lot to do with my career. Pete and Lenny were better at a lot of things than I was when we were on the rescue, and I learned from them, and they learned from me. And of course, Dennis, I learned a lot about the fire service, a lot about life. Life after he's retired, I'm retired, and I'm still in contact with him. We'll both be at the New York State Chiefs Conference in June. He's speaking, I'm speaking twice, and so we'll get to have a couple of beers down in the Irish pub.
But now here's Chief John Salka.
Yeah, John and I have been friends. We can't even remember how long we've been friends. We go back, early Firehouse days. He was just getting on stage. Harvey knew Harvey had the eye. He pushed me on stage one day. He pushed John on stage, and John and I have been friends forever and ever. He's written some great books. He's got a great column in the back of Firehouse magazine, called The Fire Scene, which I came up with and gave to him. When he got into the Hall of Fame, I think a couple of years before that, I went down to somewhere in I forget, not Knoxville, Nashville. I wasn't speaking there, but I went down and I made his. So That's a good picture for my files. John's a great guy, brilliant, incredible book writer. All his books are so easy to read and learn from. Yeah, that was a good day. That was a good day. And here's my 1 or 2 shout outs I want to do. This is the FDNY Retirement Association Phoenix Division. There's 30 maybe more members in this group, and they get together once a month. I got invited just as a guest one day, and I went and I sat down at the table, and we broke bread, and at 74 years old, when I first started going there, I was the youngest guy in the room. And we just sat around, and all I did was listen. I wish I had a tape recorder. These guys have some incredible stories about fires in the 60s, some back to the 50s, 60s, 70s. I mean, the stories are just incredible. I wish somebody would write these things down. I mean, the things they did, dangling off a roof on just a simple rope and running into these burning buildings, and it just incredible stories. I mean, and then all the side stories that I couldn't even repeat here. I wouldn't even try to, the probies coming in when they were probies, and guys from the 40s with their offices. They had just and a wonderful, wonderful group of guys. Now, I played my pipes at a couple of memorials, and some of them had passed away, and their families asked for bagpipes, and I would play Amazing Grace, and a couple of them were Army or Marine veterans, and I played taps on the pipes. And then one meeting, I wasn't there, and like I said, I was just a guest. I was just, I wasn't part of it, didn't pay dues or anything. And I came back, and they said the meeting I wasn't there, they made me official member of the FDNY Retirement Association, and it was. You know what? It was one of the highlights of my career to be a member, sitting with these incredible gentlemen. And I already got, I sent out to the secretary that I was going to be on the program, and he sent it out. And I got some emails back, so I know they're listening. I love all of you. They you know what? You just made my career even better. And hopefully I'll be back and get together with you guys. And I'm sorry I missed a couple events where I could have played my pipes, but I'll be back. So,
all right. So you know what? We'll get to the jersey questions, and we definitely we're gonna have to, because I mean we didn't even touch a lot of your career, really. I mean, we didn't even talk about when you were a deputy. So we'll have to arrange. We'll have to arrange. We didn't even talk about your time as a deputy chief. Like, it was a
it was kind of fun.
Yeah. So we'll definitely. And then
just real quickly, chief operations is great, because the only reason I took the position was Chief Eggers said to me I could go to anything I wanted, anytime I wanted. So I had a city car and a gas. And just one more shout out, because we didn't get to it, but if we do another program, I'd like to do something on firefighter mental health. I'm slowly becoming a mental health advocate for the fire service. I just finished taking some courses from the IFF to get certified as a it's part of this. But I want to just give a shout out to Paul Drennan, retired deputy chief, and Steve Drennan, who's the chief of department now. A couple of years back, they started the Jersey City peer support group, and it's taken off. They have fire departments all over the state calling them now. All the guys are certified. I'm on their list. If you just need to talk to somebody. But Paulie Drennan and Steve Drennan and the guys, they did a fantastic job, and it's expanding like crazy with other communities calling them. So I'm a firm part of them now, and if someday you want to do a mental health program, I can get maybe one of them on with me.
Oh, absolutely. I actually think the PFA&J modeled their peer support group after the Jersey Cities.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, they're looking to do some kind of small conference or something. I know they're doing something with the Burn Center. I think coming up
Okay.
in a few weeks. So yeah. So I just I've been working with them. I'm a survivor of PTSD. I have a new program that I've been doing around the country, and it's called Beyond the Flames: A Successful Journey Through PTSD. And it's my story, and I'm hoping that guys who are afraid to admit it or don't know what to do, they would come to see it when I speak, and because it's really ground level, fireman to fireman, face to face.
Have you ever thought about writing a book?
I've been asked half a dozen times for different things, and I don't know. I've watched John and a couple other people write books, and
I mean,
yeah.
I've read a lot of your articles, so I know you're capable of it. I mean, and you look at it, and PTSD it's killing more of us than.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I mean, between veterans and the fire service, we lead the rest of the nation. It's just, if you really looked at it, the percentage is way above for fire. Emergency services combined is much, much higher than the regular public out there. And the veterans are like, it's like, I think they said every 2 hours.
Is it still up to 22 a day? I mean,
yeah,
it's horrible. It's horrible. The numbers are horrible. The emergency services and the military.
Yeah.
It truly, these are the groups that the government forgets a lot.
Yeah.
They take care of us, but they don't take care of it.
Yeah. I did a lot of therapy outside. With somebody, with a doctor I went to and paid out of my pocket because I didn't want anybody to know. But then eventually I went to the VA because some of the problems that come back to bite me was that. I mean, the older you get, the more you think about these things. I mean, when I was an 18-year-old kid, not that it was, you didn't think about it, but I mean, killing people, it just, didn't bother you. But, and the older you get, the more time you have to think. So anyway, I think Paulie likes the fact that, I've been to the VA. I know the VA system. I know the programs that I took. And now I'm from the fire service. So I have both of those stories. I have stories of both of those, combine them together. And I just like to tell people how I got to where I did. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. That's well, and that's why I ask about a book, because, there's some, and I'm not, not trying to blow up your balloon or anything like that, but sometimes there's something to be said about when you feel low. Hey brother, here's a book. Take a look at this book.
Yeah.
You're not alone. And you know what? Like you said, you have that first responder aspect of it, and you have that military. You were in Vietnam in '68. That was from what I've read and seen and heard, and that was the deepest of it, and that was the heart of what was going on over there. And I'm sure people could benefit from your experiences and what you have to say and your help.
Well, my first big venue is coming up in June, the New York State Chiefs Conference. They have just a wonderful person running their whole program, Sue Ravour. I went to her. I mean, I've done it for small departments here and there, but this will be the first big venue, and she thought it was a good idea. So she gave me a spot along with one of my fire tactic courses. But so that'll be. We'll see what happens. People, they're still firemen are afraid to talk about it, but I'm going to give it a shot and see what happens. I just hope, I want people to learn from the mistakes I made, and tell them that I think the opening line to the program is, PTSD doesn't have to last forever. That there's so many things out there. There's so many things out there now. There's so many different ways you can go. There has to be, but it's taking the first step. It's taking that baby step. Yeah. Yep. So anyway, okay.
All right. So let's get to these Jersey questions. Is it pork roll or Taylor ham?
Taylor ham. I walk into a store with Taylor ham and egg and cheese on a hard roll. Taylor ham, egg, yeah.
All right, moving right along here.
Go ahead.
Moving right along here. The best pizza, and I know you're not eating it out in Arizona.
Oh no, I'm in Pittsburgh. I'm having pizza tonight because once I get out there, but there's two places. One's Renato's Pizza Master. It's 278 Central Avenue in Jersey City. It is, as soon as you walk in, you know it's Italian and you know it's good because the smells are unbelievable. And that's the main entrance. There's a back street. I think it's Ferry Street. There's a back street with a back door with a tiny parking lot. If you don't know the place, you'd never go there. But they have a dining room, and the food is it's the best. But the pizza's great. The pizza's great. And the other place is O'Leary's Public House. It's run by a fireman, and it's down on 788 Garfield Avenue. Now they have pizza, but they do it with a little different flair. So if you go down to O'Leary's Public House on Garfield Avenue, you see Kevin Hennessy. He's got a 15 engine. He's got a great place. He took a non-existent restaurant and bar and turned it into a gym. So they're the two places for pizza. Taylor ham. I made a little deli out in Arizona, around the corner from my house. Get Taylor ham, and they have the big things of it now. And it says Taylor ham right on it. I'm sorry. Taylor, I can't say it other than Taylor ham, egg, and cheese on a roll. Oh.
All right, number 3. Do you go to the beach or you go down the shore?
We go down the shore. LBI.
All right.
I fly back every year. We go to Long Beach Island.
Oh, you still make the trip?
Go to the shore. All right. Tell all my kids we're going to meet at the shore.
All right.
No beach there. You go to the shore. Old school. You go to the beach or you go to the shore?
There you go.
Where do you go?
Well, I live down the shore. I go to the beach.
Okay. Well,
growing up, my mom used to bring me to my mom and my aunts used to bring me to Belmar all the time. But then when my brother was what was he, a junior and senior in high school, he was a lifeguard at Seven Presidents County Park in Long Branch. So I used to go with him all the time. But yeah,
we go to the shore.
I was so beached out. I got so beached out. I was dragged there every day.
We go to the shore, but the house is only a block from the beach. But we go to the
shore. Proudest achievement on the job?
On the job. I'm going to have to say, and I said this earlier, all the guys that were closest to me in Engine 20, Ladder 5, and the rescue, all the close guys, all got promoted. And I'm not taking credit for any of their promotions, but I just think, maybe they saw me studying, or maybe they, took a little tip I gave them. But just to see them all get promoted and retire at the next highest rank, like I said, Pete's a battalion chief. The others were captains. Pete's still on a job. I get out of Jersey City to visit. If there's an open bunk, I stay overnight with him. I want to hear the box come in. Want to jump in the car. It's great. My wife thinks I'm nuts, but and the other guy that did really well, who I kind of mentored a little bit, was Kenny Simone. Kenny's a battalion chief now. He was a little kid when I was on the job, but one of the first bad fires I went to, his dad, Louis Simone, got killed at a fire, up on the second floor trying to get to a girl, and whatever the circumstances were, but he was line of duty death. And, his two kids that I knew got on a job, and Kenny's, Howie's a battalion chief, and Kenny, both of them are battalion chiefs, but Kenny and I are like this. Kenny always says to me, I feel like he thinks I'm his second father, but another guy that just kept the tradition alive, doing really good, running the 4th Battalion. So those guys getting promoted to me, when I got promoted, I had tears in my eyes. I went to all of them. Lenny said I spent 12 years at rescue. The best 7 were with Captain Cobb. lots of good training, lots of good times. Thanks, Lenny. Lenny lives out in Colorado now. He has a house in Jersey. Lenny's another guy. He's a Jersey boy. He's got a house up in Ramsey or somewhere up there, but he has another house in Colorado. Lenny would be a real character. Lenny would be a real character. And Pete Greasy, 41 years. He's got some stories. Still on the job.
I'm going to pick your brain for people. By the way,
and Pete,
I already have like 2 or 3 others that I'm working on. I already talked about had you reach out to Chief Zappella for me.
Yeah. And Pete's been the volley chief up in Long Valley. Like he's working on his 4th time being a chief in Long Valley. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He's nuts. Yeah.
Punishment.
Yeah. I was kind of glad when I moved to Arizona, there were no volunteer fire departments. Otherwise, I would have joined.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Does Central Jersey really exist?
I don't know where Central Jersey is.
Wow.
That answer your question?
So no.
I know north and south. South.
That's a no.
I'm gonna get some thumb downs on this one.
What advice do you? Last question. What advice do you have to give to the fire service?
I'm gonna give this to the new kids coming on the job because there's all kinds of things out there. They're too smart. They're this, they're that. You know what? This goes to all the new kids. The first thing you need to do is become a good listener. You have to go wherever you go in the firehouse, even on the scene, listen to what people are saying. There's a lot to learn from listening. All right. The second thing you have to do is become a good follower. Pick somebody that you like or who's ever leading you in the firehouse or on the fire ground. Be a good listener. Be a good follower. You need to follow the right person. Because you know what? I tell this to kids all the time, and I gave this speech when I was the chief of training to a couple of classes. You're going to learn about 1/3 of what you need to do on the fire ground or in the fire service in Proby school. The rest of it you'll get out there at the kitchen table on the fire ground. So be a good listener, be a good follower, and then go from there. So that's my advice. Listen, follow, and that combined with your Proby class, you'll be 360. You'll be full circle.
I love it. I love it.
Simple.
All right. Do you have anything going on you want to plug, or you were talking about the? Are you going to be out at FDIC? Are you teaching?
I'm not sure. Well, I'm not teaching it this year because of my situation here, but I'll be at the New York State Chiefs for absolutely positively sure. I love going there. I've been going to that conference. It is a fireman's fire conference. They still, so I'm doing 2 classes up there. One on, I forget the date. I'm doing the PTSD class on Wednesday, and then on Friday I'm doing a class I like to do, and it's about size up is not only for the chief. I do a program on you're the lieutenant, you're the captain, you're the volley sitting in that seat. When you pull up and the chief says, "Hey, vent the 2nd floor or get a line in there," what's your plan? And that comes with the 30-second size up. Yeah. So that's pretty much it.
And I found a picture of your favorite fire truck, by the way.
Oh my God, 90-foot snorkel, single axle. If you saw a red light coming, you had to hit the brake a block away because it just didn't stop right away. And
it looked like you got this light. This ladder sticks like 20 feet out? That's
my God, yeah, it's 90 foot, like 30, yeah, it's crazy. It was hard to, and twice at Jersey City Fires it fell over, twice. Get
out of here.
God's honest truth, I have pictures of both of them. Again, I'll have to find them. One it fell into a 4-story tenement, so it just kind of leaned in, and the guys tumbled out of the bucket onto the roof. The second time was a 3rd alarm in a pier down in Waterfront. Deputy Chief Cardillo was running a fire, called for the snorkel. 20 engine went down, 5 and 3rd alarm. And just as we got there, one of the gears snapped or something, and the thing spun around with guys in the bucket, but it wasn't fully extended yet. And they just jumped out. It fell down twice, fixed it, and then finally got rid of it. Some volley company bought it. Some volley company, probably in Central Jersey, but some volley company bought it.
Ah, Central Jersey. See?
I meant that as a joke. Oh, sorry. I'm never getting invited back. Yeah. I did overtime in that school for once, and that was it.
That thing, it's I'm not going to lie, it's ugly.
Oh, God, it's scary.
Lenny says my first 3-alarm fire. Oh, he was up in the bucket. Wow.
Yeah. You went up there once. You were on
taking your life in your own hands.
I was 2.5 hours over a church fire with that thing with Chris Salmon, who was great with the snorkel. But when they brought that thing down, they had to peel my hand off the railing. I was holding on so hard for so long. That was it. If they called me again, I wouldn't work overtime in 6 truck until I got rid of it. It was too scary.
All right, Chief. I'm gonna let you say goodnight, and then I'm gonna put you in the backstage. We'll say our goodnights off air. And then I'll say goodnight to everybody.
All right, thanks, Nick.
Absolutely, thank you. All right, everybody, that wraps up episode run number 006 with Deputy Chief Butch Cobb from the Jersey City Fire Department. Everybody, thank you. And next week, we look forward to another great episode with Chief of Department Dave McGlynn, originally a Woodbridge Township guy. Now he's Chief of Department out at Letterkenny Army Depot. Have a good night and stay safe.